When I think of Bee and Ruth Shelburne, I think of a multi-generational legacy within the churches of Christ.
For the first 20 or more years of my life, if you said the word missionary, it was their faces that came to my mind.
No, I never thought that I would marry him. I refused to date anyone who was not 6 feet tall, and so that naturally put him out. After we decided to marry, I told my mother he was tall inside.
Dad and Mom both, even though they were very different personalities, were absolutely united in their love of God and their determination to serve Him and to serve the kingdom.
Bee's father, G.B. Shelburne, was one of the most influential church leaders in the non-Sunday school movement.
One of the issues that Churches of Christ had difficulty with in the 1920s to the 1940s was the issue of Bible classes, and there were some who decided that since that wasn't in Scripture, it really shouldn't be a part of the church. And so there was a division that formed.
And one of the things about the Shelburnes that were so influential was they never, ever considered that a division. In fact, they spoke very strongly that differences of opinion on appropriate methods of education are okay, but never should be a source of division.
I'd always been interested in mission work and very concerned that our little group of churches did not do mission work.
And so when the opportunity came in the form of some African brethren contacting, I guess it was through my granddad's journal, Gospel Tidings, about the need for mission work in Malawi, it was pretty easy for that word to kind of spread among that relatively small network of non-Sunday school churches.
And B called me up one day at work and he said, "We have been asked to go to Africa, to Nyasaland." He said, "What do you think?" And I said, "What can you say if God asks you to go?"
In those days, it was a long way from home when you got there, and I remember the first night that we slept there. I woke up in the middle of the night with jet lag, and it was so dark I couldn't see up from down. And I remember thinking, what in the world have we done? And then, of course, daybreak came, and I got my orientation back, and in a few days it became more like where we should be.
Bee and Ruth were naturals on the mission field. Their personalities blended well with Malawian culture.
We didn't want to go there on our own, and so we asked my brother and his wife,
who had made the initial trip and had bought the property which became known as the Namakongo Mission.
Churches of Christ had been in Malawi a long time when we went.
But they were desperately in need of leadership training.
We wanted to train workers and try to help the church grow inwardly and spiritually.
The thing that he did not do was go out and start churches. All he did was teach the people so they could do those things.
They were just ahead of their time in a lot of ways.
The second tour, we had 2 children, 2 boys, Ian and David.
And it was a great place to raise children, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Growing up in Africa was a boy's paradise.
Every evening, family Bible study together. That was just a fixture just like breakfast, lunch, and supper.
The African women knew that I longed to have a daughter, and they told me that when they found out we were adopting a child, we did not know if she would be a boy or girl. But they told me this was my daughter, and they were so right. And she has been a huge blessing to our family.
A lot of mission works have used the Namakongo style of teaching as their program.
Through the years, a Bible school was put there, a church was put there, housing for missionaries, a lot of different things that are going on there.
There are over 1,000 churches that have been planted as a part of that work. When they did move back to the United States after 20 years, Bee became the president of South Houston Bible Institute.
The Institute was, of course, the creation of my grandfather. It really was an environment where there was deep, consistent, disciplined Bible instruction and teaching in church leadership.
As the years went by, it focused less on people coming who had a vocation to full-time ministry and more people coming from that Houston metropolitan area who had tremendously diverse denominational backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, but who were astonished to find a tuition-free daily teaching program.
So unity was a profound impact of Dad's life and ministry.
He loves to let people know the Bible.
And that was a tremendous blessing to see the love that the students have for him and the esteem that they have for him.
We worked in Houston altogether 32 years, and it was just a wonderful experience sharing Christ with those people all through those years.
They had lived in Africa so long that everything was so new over here, and she asked me one time, she said, "Erlen, I am worn out. We'd been busy all summer." She said, "When is it slowing down?" I said, "Well, when school starts, it will slow down." She tells me every once in a while, "I'm still waiting for school to start." It never has slowed down.
Well, let me just say one closing thing. We owe a great debt to the Shelburnes.
I just would like to say that I love our brotherhood. I'm so thankful to God for the many people He's helped us to know through the years, and I even very much love the little network of non-Sunday school churches that we were nurtured in. I feel like that although it had warts, as all movements do, that God raised up some wonderful saints. We're just rich in so many ways.
Yes.
It was obviously clear they loved God and they loved people, and their ministry was all about that.
One way to get at it, I think, would be to think about the impact that their lives have had on the people who have specifically come into their home.
Everyone would say, your door was always open.
There were always people there. I've had Bea and Ruth both walk in on my wife and I while we were kissing. It was kind of awkward.
Bea and Ruth were just parents to so many of us, and they've influenced dozens and dozens and dozens of young people who went on to become church leaders in various ways.
Other than my own parents, there's nobody that's had the impact on my life personally as Bea and Ruth.
You know, I could listen at their door when they're at my house now, and they're praying for a long time, and for me, for my kids, for my brothers and their kids.
We often pray for our children and generations to come that
Yes.
whatever our world becomes, they would still be able to be faithful and be right in the Lord. You know, the gospel is all about transforming people into servants, and God may ask you to do some things you never dreamed of, as we found out.
The greatest secret of the Christian life, Dad would say, is losing your life for the sake of God and discovering that He'll keep it for you. And I would say that that is the greatest single impact. That is His life message, and He has lived it to the full.